So first of all, we've got Coral from Leeds City Council, who I think, Coral, you first heard about this when I presented it at the road shows last autumn. And I do remember kind of the Leeds table were kind of shaking their heads and a bit concerned at the time, but I think things seem to have changed since. So perhaps you could give us an overview of what's happened and how you're starting to use landlord grants.
Yep, sure. You can hear me okay, yeah?
Yes, loud and clear.
Excellent. Yeah, as Paul said, for me it started following the roadshow in Leeds, where you kindly showed us that journey that you've just put up in your slideshow, and I thought let me try and do something about this. I'd noticed that our influx in referrals had gone up by 35-40%, and obviously one of the benefits that Paul's mentioned is about housing associations doing their own grants, so that does alleviate the work from the housing authority. So I thought I'd see what I could do. Now, what I'm talking about is Leeds specific. Everybody is different in different local authorities, but we do have and work with 21 housing associations, and they all work differently. Some of them, a small percentage of them do a contribution. Some of them carry out the work themselves. Some of them don't. It's all very mixed. And when I think about where I started with this, it's probably going back to COVID, when myself and another colleague reached out to local to housing associations to reconnect with them to improve relationships, and we met with them about the process prior to the landlord application being mentioned. But I think by having those conversations, reconnecting with the staff within the housing associations, it put us in a good stead to actually approach them about landlord applications. So after the roadshow, I thought I'm going to see what I could do. So I sent out quite a presuming email to all our housing associations saying that Leeds were going to change to landlord applications as from the 1st of April this year. Now, this stirred a lot of emails and phone calls to me, which was good, because they were reaching out to me and asking me about this process. So it started those conversations straight away. And I know Rachel Russell actually got involved with a housing association directly about my email. So I set up meetings with them. And to be honest with you, I was quite surprised with the initial ones that made contact with me. Because of my email, they'd already been starting thinking about how can they do this, what can they do differently, and looking into the possibility of taking over the work themselves and delivering DFGs. And they'd already come up with some options, so it was quite positive. And I thought it wasn't going to be as positive moving forward. The main concern that they had, obviously, I used the slide that Paul brought up there. The main concern they had was about the OT around the assessment side. So they were saying they don't have OTs within the housing associations, and that was their main concern, not about delivering the work or anything like that. So we agreed that obviously we use social care to do our assessments, and we would continue with that approach. So it was adapting the foundation's journey to Leeds and also our housing associations. And once I said to them that, the assessments would still be done through social care and they didn't have to have that element within the housing association, they sort of breathed a bit about the whole process. So that was a good sign. So then I set up meetings with them, the ones that were obviously open. Not everyone reached out to me out of the 21. There was quite a few that did, and I set up meetings. And it was a case of talking through the process with them, making sure, letting them know that it's not a case that we're just going to give them the landlord application and they have to go off and do it, and hand-holding them if we need to, but just making sure they knew that we were there as a housing authority to help them. And the main objective through all of our conversations would we wanted to make sure that their tenant didn't notice anything different in that service delivery of the DFG, and that was quite clear that both of us wanted to achieve that objective. So I did assist them in regards to information that they would need to know about how to do things. And obviously your bigger housing associations do have their own contractors. the littler ones don't. So it's a case of helping them in how they can develop that area. Information that I did send through to them was we do have standard specifications for bathing, so assisting them in knowing what we did as a local authority under DFG helped them to go out to tender to procure their own contractors if they wanted to take that route. It also gave them the volume of work that we did. I mean, they should have known that because they approved the road grants, but when you look at figures and the amount of work, it seemed to relieve them a bit that it wasn't as a big a task as what they initially thought. I also sent through set prices because within Leeds we do have a set price for bathing, so it gave them an inkling of what was value for money for them tendering, for them going out to their in-house contractors to carry out the work. So there was that value for money element put in there already, and then we just talked through the process. We set up service level agreements, which we have tweaked depending on the housing association, so they know what their responsibility is as a landlord for a DFG grant, and then they know what we would do under statutory duty of approving the grant. One thing we did have in our back pocket, and I know some local authorities don't, with a few housing associations we do get contributions. So because they were taking on this additional task, it gave us a little bit of a leeway to negotiate that. So it would enable them to either increase their resources or to resource up. So we were lucky that we did have that as a backup if we needed. However, that hasn't fallen. That hasn't happened in some cases. In regards to the journey, as I say, we have tweaked it a bit to our own specification in regards to the assessment, and also in regards to the payment area. So we are looking at what foundations are promoting, and we are adapting it to suit ourselves and also the housing association. Now, with the smaller housing associations that may not have an in-house contractor or don't have resources to procure, we have helped them in getting in contact with local home improvement agency that we've worked closely with. They are very skilled within disabled facilities grant and adaptations, and that enables them to source out that element of the work of planning those adaptations. So the customer is getting good service. The housing association are outsourcing that, and I did notice there was a message about fees, and yes, the housing association can apply fees to the DFG, whether they're outsourcing or not. But I suppose the tips that I would promote is get in contact with your housing association, get to know them, build up those relationships with them prior to even mentioning landlord applications, because I do think that definitely put us in a good stead to move the landlord applications forward, and just assist them, help them explain what they need to do, give recommendations for any contractors that they may not have, and just keep talking. Within our service level agreement, we do have a review period. As Paul says, it is early stages for Leeds. We had 2 over the line from the 1st of April. We've got another one coming on from the 1st of May, and I'm making progress for 4 others within Leeds. So they're all coming online, but bits and bats. So we have, as I say, we have got a review period to make sure that everything is working. We've got regular meetings set up to evaluate the landlord application process, and we will tweak it as and when we need to and make changes to make sure that it's still working for ourselves, the tenant and the housing association. So I know it's not been a miracle cure. There are still housing associations that are out there that aren't corresponding with us, but once I've got these main ones over the line, then I will be out speaking to those guys within the other housing associations to try and get them over the line. And obviously we'll have some good news stories of how it has been working. So yeah, that's our experience with the Leeds. Very early days, but we're very positive about it. And I would just say, just start talking to your housing associations and seeing what developments and what progress you can make.
So it sounds like you've kind of been surprised by the positive response that you've got from many of them. Is that kind of different to your kind of previous experience with them?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I know. Yeah, you obviously picked up on the table in the Hilton when you were promoting that, and you know it does look all good, but sometimes it doesn't work in practice. But you just got to keep pursuing it and keep talking to people and just trying to make it as simpler as possible. You know, it has been a lot of hard work, and there's still a lot more hard work to do with the other housing associations we've got. So it's not a quick fix; it is a long-term development.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely changed my tune, Paul.
Okay. And is it kind of too early days of it? Have you had any feedback from any of the tenants that have gone through the process so far? And
no, it is still early days. I'd say the 1st of April we started. So we haven't, you know, we're just sending the referrals through at the moment. So we're just waiting for those to, you know, come back from the housing association, and then we can evaluate how it's going. And that's what we've continued to do for the rest of the year and every month so far.
Great, thanks, Carl. So I think we'll go to Rachel now and get kind of a compare and contrast with Lichfield. And if you're kind of okay to hang on, Coral, we'll kind of come back to any of the questions, and hopefully yourself and Rachel can help me answer any questions that we've got. So thank you for now.